This is going to be a quick one. Just here to let you know I received another Amazon parcel today. We have two items in here. We have Karanzan Volume 2, the official journal of Martinet Press. And we have Karanzan Volume 3. Let's take a good brief look at them. So basically this is like a zine. It is quality paperback cover, but basically it's like a magazine and it has different like essays and artwork, just basically samples of what Martinet has to offer. They have like different interviews and treatises from Left Hand Path authors, and they also have some art. Cover art by Joel Hrothsson. Hrothsson. I don't know how you pronounce that name. So there's different like essays in here. When I get some free time, you know, who knows, I might just do all the volumes of the Karanzan journals. I wasn't originally planning on it, but let's just see. We have art by Sergei Kramer. We have the art of Erica Fravel. And then we have some essays here. We have the Aeon of Dark Empathy, the Lion's Paw, which, and some of these are like stories too, so they're not all essays. Some of them are like Order of the Nine Angle horror stories or satanic stories. The Art of Joel Hrothsson, The End of Hate and the Love of the Kanos, Archaeos Ophis, Aberrations of a Dragon. I'm not reading all of the contents on here, but just to give you an example, there is a lot of text, there's a lot of printed material. Then there's some photography here. Laurent Braun, Sombre Evil. And there's some collages by Erica Fravel here. Now, the journal is in black and white. There's no color, obviously, but this one's called The Underworld Feeds on the Children of God. And this one's, I think, is in the deplorable word. But full color, it looks so much fucking better in full color. Punishment, Rise of the Wolf's Blood. Very, very cool stuff. Satanic Psychic Shrapnel. Yeah, here's a story in here. It's called Lyra's Torment by Aubrey Wood Basnight. Part 4. It was all about a blur. It was all but a blur between the scene at the intersection and find himself sitting in a designated location, a small cafe. He seated in the alfresca seating outside as per directions which had been previously relayed before the assigned meet, and the small iron wrought chairs around a similarly iron wrought dining table, simple yet tasteful cloth upon which sat a carafe of water covered awning above blocking at best it could the glare of the desert sun, already bright and dangerous by mid-morning. He was predictably early despite his brief interlude in prior and translate, habitual earliness which had grounded itself in the force of habit and behavior since his youngest years, which only become more pronounced as time and his paranoia continued to blossom into full flower, the seeds of which, however, had been long implanted. Max hoped in this case that he had been the first to arrive before the dealer, allowing him some time to rest himself, if only briefly, and to gain sense of his immediate surroundings as he slumped graciously into the proffered chair and accepted the small glass of the extra potent coffee which was indigenous to the area. Harafson. I don't know how you pronounce that. I don't know how you pronounce the name, but it's spelled Hrafnsson, and he's got some kind of like sinister tarot right here. He's got a. So this is Shaitan. This is some kind of like ziggurat or something with the black smoke rising over it. I don't know how well you can see it. It looks good. I mean, it looks okay for black and white. It kind of reminds me of like the Satan's Tarot, Michael A. Davis. I have a very, very poor quality photocopy. Poor quality photocopy of the Satan's Tarot that George Sprague hooked me up with, and I'm kind of getting that vibe from it right from this image. Yep. The Nithra card, Nemaku. The End of Hate and the Love of the Kanos Archaeos Ophis by Matthew Whiteman. He's a Left-Hand Path author who wrote a couple of books. He wrote The Serpent Sigir, Songs of Lilith and Samael, which is an anti-cosmic text, and he also wrote Kitvei Kodesh HaKol series, which I've only read volume 1. I'm just gonna read like a paragraph or two from this. How do we hate? I preface the following words with the statement that in general I tend to favor those Satanists and occultists who emphasize action over reflection. As for most of the 20th century, this emphasis was reversed with far greater focus being placed on a passive and academic approach to ceremonial magic, consisting of largely of empty mental and physical masturbation. Having said that, for some the pendulum seems to have swung too far in the opposite direction, so that what should be meaningful, sinister action has become mindless banality and empty nihilism. What would have once been acts of genuine sin, evil, or transgression are now merely childish frat pranks, baseless elitism, or petty acts of ego gratification given occult trappings after the fact, so as to give some kind of social satanic legitimacy to what otherwise uninteresting sociopathic misbehavior. As essential as radical action is to the life of the Satanist, it is nothing without meaningful reflection of the sinister intent. To deny this is to be no better than mindless dross despised by the traditional Satanists, or perhaps worse, is to make oneself lower than even the armchair occultist who feigns serious commitment to the sinister dialectic through empty meandering. It is to dwell so thoroughly and thoughtlessly in the dirt that the blood becomes hardened by its clay, strangling the spirit, not an unattractive metaphor in a klepothic, chthonic, autonomic context, though I have yet to encounter even one capable of drawing sufficient meaning from this kind of meaninglessness, and at the end, even doing so proves my point. And this essay is like a few pages long. There's some poetry in here. Aberrations of a Dragon by Ray's Books. 1. They who walk these shores as shadows in our past met a foreign man, cloaked in robes of blood, who spoke in a tongue too close to their own. As sure as candles drip wax when burning through the night, staining the wood upon which it cools, so too must you pray. Adieu for the refuse of your existence. The man in red whispered strong while dropping globes of waning power into the churning waters of the river that fed children and women alike. So I have called you to this land to begin this payment. Cowering in fear of their God, paying witness, they step forward, arms extended, gripped by a pristine hand. From the cloak of red, water drips onto their palm. So now in your tongue upon the water you will know where your wax falls, for you have sold your soul for drops of water. The man cloaked in red gripped a sphere within which swirled hues of both red and purple that betrayed a world of treason and sin, only to be released, like the goat of Azazel, to the churning waters unknown, never to be seen again. And there's some more stanzas. Yeah, this poem's at least like 2.5 more pages long. The Lick, Undeath and the Nature of Transfiguration. So here's an essay by Somnus Dreadwood, who used to be a member of the Mer Jeriah Cabal, and he had a lot of books. He had like 4 or 5 different books on Amazon, and they're not available anymore. But this makes me wish that I grabbed them earlier. And you got some like rabbi or whatever like that, just doing rabbi stuff. And you got like some coffin with like badass sigils on it. On the Nature of Brazilian Quimbanda by Danilo Copini. I have Danilo Copini's book on Quimbanda, The Cult of the Red and Black Flame, but I won't read it only because it's so fucking long. It's like over 500 pages long. Oh, and they also have VLF Laboratories. So if you don't know, these guys are left-hand path occult pornographers. They have this video channel where they make like occult black magic porn. It's pretty frightening, and they have some like they do some pretty crazy stuff on video, and it has like symbolic and like ritualistic significance. I haven't watched channel 309 yet, but I only look at some of the posts, some of the screenshots. I did look at the site, and I encourage you to check them out if you're into like pornography and really like pushing your limits. Because porn shouldn't just be like fun, something you masturbate to. Porn should be fucking frightening and should push you to your limits. 309, Gnosis in Action. Ain Miyesh, a brief introduction into the 309 system, version 0.1, April 2016. The acronym Q309 indicates a system that studies experiments and uses a Gnostic ecstatic method characterized by a noetic model to stimulate and convey change in the phenomenal perception of human existence. Q309 has its action in the field for its opus luxury in the matter and in the energy that matter conveys. It is the Setian push in the permanent change of function an indeterminate and undifferentiated ideal tending towards a dimensionless, entropic unreality. That's all I'm going to read right now because I have to do something at 4 o'clock, and it's 5 o'clock. Fucking excuse me. It's 4:43 right now. I have less than 20 minutes left, and I want a chance to skim through Choronzon 3 for you. There's some more art, this time by Crude Azathoth. Koteleq, so there's some photos, so a leak from the VLF 309 laboratories. The Saturnine Cult by Ying Chao. And then there's some more, and then there's some promotions. So Sarah Rec, McCult Comics, you can a way you can buy a Temple of Blood supporter patch. Okay, now let's look at Choronzon Volume 3. So first we have this like wheel of arms, this like swastika of arms, each bearing a club, and you just have this eye at the center. So right now this is going to be even darker than Choronzon Volume 2. And then there's an invocation on the back of it, some kind of like Greek here. I don't know what poem this is from, but it sounds like the classical stuff here. Do you hear? Or shall I summon to mine aid that God at whose dread name the earth trembles, who can look unflinching on the Gorgon's head and drive the Furies with his scourge, who holds the depths ye cannot fathom, and above who haunts ye dwell supernal, whose waves by Styx forswears himself unpunished? I'm thinking of the Greek magical papyri. That might be about Abraxas. Ooh, cover art by Konstantin Kopax of Warhead Art. And then here's a fuller illustration with the same wheel of clubs with Sanskrit around it. Very, very, very cool. If anybody could like translate that for me, let me know. I want to know what it says. Contents, editorial forward, Vindex. We have Larry James Lent. We have Lyra's Torment, probably a continuation of the story from the last edition here. Aspects of Datura within the sphere of Nahemoth. We have more VLF laboratories. We have Ninth Codex. We have some more stuff by Erica Fravel. We have the Chapel of Ashtaroth, Pilgrimage, Sadomasochism Ritual. We have an interview with fucking Fosco Culto. I love Fosco Culto. She is a painter and musician at Lamia Culta, and she has some very, very good fucking art, some very good satanic art. She drew for a lot of her own like music and stuff like that. She has a lot of paintings, great fucking highly skilled paintings. I think Exazar, like back in 2012 or whatever, they had one of her paintings up for sale. We have Paul Barton, Brian Maysha. That name rings a bell to me. I don't know how, but I think I've heard that before. Featured artist information at the very end of the magazine here. And then we have a collage of Lord Krishna by Erica Fravel. Okay, Karanzan 3, Vindex. In traditional demonology, Lucifer is known as the Emperor of Hell, Lord of all demons. In dark magic and medieval books, Lucifer is described as the biggest one power among all the devils. Not only does he have a devilish and infernal feature, but also a pure Gnostic self. It is important to observe that Lucifer is just a genetic term used as an adjective for entities, not a proper name as thought. Lucifer can be understood as one who brings the light or the light carrier, Lord of spiritual enlightenment. So it is possible to affirm many spiritual beings, dark gods, and deities around the world have Luciferic characteristics. In the beliefs of traditional Satanism, both Lucifer and Satan are names for chaotic, sinister, and non-causal spiritual forces coming from the dark gods, a tangible idea for mere mental understanding. Anyway, exoterically speaking, those names fit well for antinomian, rebel, dark, sinister nature representation of those dark gods who are in the bestial chaos beginnings themselves. In the satanic tradition, Satan is shown as a chaotic, transcendental, non-causal, dark god having violent instincts of creation and destruction. It is perceptible by dark alchemy principle inside satanic mysteries. In India, Lord Krishna is represented by a chaotic, destructive, and creative, transcendental, non-causal, dark blue god, being sinister and violent many times. Lord Krishna commits violent acts such as murder and destruction as luxury acts. According to the dark tradition, there are many similarities between Lord Krishna and satanic essences. According to the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that among his devils, he is the greatest one. Vedic literature also has many demons and obscure demigods subjecting themselves to him. In this aspect, Lord Krishna is seen as a supreme being on the infernal cosmic hierarchy, as so does Lucifer in medieval black magic tradition. Lord Krishna represents a Luciferic Gnostic ethos coming to earth from time to time to teach the transcendental truth for the human beings. Bringing enlightenment and knowledge as well as Lucifer and Prometheus, remembering the superiority of the spirit over the material, which is a core precept of Gnostic currents. Besides that, Krishna is beyond Brahma and before Brahma, as Satan is beyond Ayin and manifestations before Ayin manifestations as three chaotic levels, pre-cosmic, cosmic, and anti-cosmic. In this context, Krishna can be compared with Satan in chaos Gnosticism. As Vindex, in assuming the Vindex Krishna role, Krishna promises to kill the weaker ones and bring the new Aeon for the strongest ones through genocide. The Lord Kalki avatar, which is Vindex himself, will make a huge bloodshed in honor of Lord Vishnu, Parushamada. Washing the earth with the unfaithful and weak blood will bring in a new Aeon belonging to the strongest ones, the numinous, the new elite, called obscure aristocracy. Lord Krishna can represent all the obscure gods from the dark traditions himself, as death gobbling life, and as eternal life after death. Gnostic transcendence can be achieved by doing the Maha Mantra at least 16 Hapamalas times every day as a fervent devotional act and as black mysticism. Sing Maha Mantra and join Vindex army praying for ruthless and massive execution by Lord Kalki's sword. offering weak blood to Lord Krishna, who is the Vindex itself. May it bring a new world, sinister order, a place where only the strong devotees will survive. And then we have an illustration of Sri Kalki, Voya aux Indies Orientalis et la Chine, Pierre Sonnerat, 1782. And what I really like this one right here, Sri Kalki, we have a very bestial looking Sri Kalki. Very bestial, like almost like a dragon on there, some kind of wild animal. Don't know what it is, but with that snout on there, it almost makes me think of Set. You know, so like a Vedic or Hindu version of Set. Very, very cool. At least visually, you know. I'm not trying to tie in Egyptian and fucking, you know, Vedic in the Far East, but that's what I get from this. So this is some kind of like engraving or something by a French artist or something, the 1700s. Okay, we have artwork by Barry James Lent, Devouring the Cosmos and Suffering in Eternity. So that was just a lot of very grisly, you know, murder, death, doom and gloom here. Babylon and the Dark Recess. Yup. There's a continuation of Lyra's Torment from Karanzan 2. You're just going to have to wait and see if I'm going to read the Karanzan journals or not. Because I also have Karanzan Volume 1, and I think there was Lyra's Torment in that too. Okay, then we have some Temple of Blood collages. Blood on Paper in Support of Occultists. Hussier Grav Vladimir Vakowski. Very, very nasty stuff. Very, very nasty stuff. Almost like MK Ultra, like mind control kind of stuff here. Very, very, very fun. Okay, then we have an essay on the Datura flower and Datura plant, which is a very, very fucking strong hallucinogenic dissociative. It's not like any acid, it's not like anything else out there. People have very violent visions, very like grisly visions and strong hallucinations, stronger than acid. And it's very fucking poisonous too. You take too much of it, even as small as like 10 seeds, you can have kidney failure. So really you're gambling with your own life when you take Datura. So most people, they just have to take a heroic dose, you know, and just fucking power through it. Also, your bladder like fucking like closes up and you can't pee for like 3 days. So I think that's why you run the risk of kidney failure when taking Datura. You have some more art. I know this one's by Erica Fravel for sure. Okay, I got less than 5 minutes here before I have to sign off. A portrait of Devi Dasi by Chapel of Ashtaroth. The Devil's Icon, an interview with Fosco Calto. The following is an interview with a friend and fellow satanic artist, Kariana Kulik, better known as her painting pseudonym Fosco Calto. Born in St. Petersburg, Russia, she began painting at a young age before moving to Ukraine, where she studied at Lviv Academy of the Arts. She has since settled in Livorno, Italy, and has a representation with the Stefano Romano Romano Gallery in New York City. Wow. Her paintings can be seen in international occult publications, and she is well versed in black magic and Satanism. She is also a gifted singer and musician, releasing dark ritual ambient under the pseudonym Lamia Colta. And she also did some collaborations with Corona Barathri. I have to go soon, but here's a close-up of one of her art. Descent of the Serpent, Hecate Trivia. So this is Descent of the Serpent. This is Hecate Trivia. Nightmare image of Lilith and Will. So very, very good stuff. Good stuff. I have to end this video right here because I have an appointment I have to do in less than 1 minute.